Welcome to my bewitching podcast, where I take you on a journey to initiate you into the mysteries and pleasures of all things magical and more. I'm Julie Nelson, Rich Witch, botanical perfumer, astrologer, and creator of the Fragrant Oracle. I'll discuss a myriad of topics passionately on women rising unapologetically, witchcraft, including spells, rituals, insightful astrology updates, and oracle card readings. I'll also introduce you to special guests who share their bountiful knowledge and experience in the art of witchcraft, the intuitive and healing arts, and being wildly unapologetic. There is something so evocative about the power and pleasure of scent and what it conjures from within us. Mother Earth speaks to you through her flowers and trees, herbs and fruits. You feel a deep connection rising from within you when you are tuned into her magic. You've experienced her enchantment, and now you're ready to be inspired by the Fragrant Oracle. These cards carry the essence of woman, of the world, both ancient and modern, witches, priestesses, goddesses, the essence of you. As I introduce you to each of these cards, think of them as your companion to rising unapologetically in your divine feminine essence, to support you in creating magic in your life. Unleash your goddess essence and weave your magic. My next scented goddess is so magical that she can easily evoke pleasure to your body, mind, and soul. This goddess is here to attract and magnetize prosperity in all areas of your life. Allow me to introduce you to Gardenia. I have the power to awaken your spirit, your essence of being, to reach full bloom in your exquisiteness as a woman. Be ready to open your heart to divine sensuality, romance, and beautiful connections. Be ready to be seen and heard, for there is no turning back. The only way is to confidently step forward with grace and magnificence. And I am here to serve you for this. When you combine affirmations with the power of my delectable, lasting scent, you are switching on your whole being to take action. This is a powerful fusion for manifesting your desires. I am pleasure. I possess unlimited power. I am devoted to loving myself unconditionally. I am magnetic. I am tuned in to passion, positivity, and prosperity. And here we are back again. And today I am here with a beautiful friend, very empowered woman, Emma. And I'm actually going to hand it over to Emma to share what she is, because she says it so beautifully. And And you can even say what we're going to talk about, and we'll move on from there, because I am so looking forward to this conversation, Emma. I'm really excited. So over to you, darling.
Thanks, Julie. It's my absolute pleasure and privilege to be with you today. So, I am a spiritual sexologist. What that means is that I blend some ancient spiritual ideas alongside the modern science of sexology, and a pleasure coach supporting people to have more pleasure in life and bed.
Well, of course, and that is what we need to keep not only relationships but ourselves in our highest vibration. And of course, your topics today, we're going to go through orgasmic magic,
Yes.
which I love, and ritual.
Yep.
So let's start off with orgasmic magic. Does that kind of align and flow into each other?
Yep. Absolutely.
Okay, I'm handing it over to you, beautiful.
Okay. So in Tantra, which many of us understand Tantra to be just sex magic, that's kind of how it's been popularized. And if you search Tantra, then kind of 9 out of 10 of the hits that you get are about the sex magic side of Tantra. And this is a very new, like a neo-tantric perspective. And
Mhm.
we will talk about that today. But for me, what I like to do is also bring the ancient aspects of Tantra through, which have a real philosophy about Tantra being the way of the heart through the body. That Tantra is a practical way to live with a spiritual essence. And in a sense, it's very like yoga, but without the asanas, without those poses. But it's a philosophy that helps you live with more consciousness and more connection to something greater than yourself. And so when we talk about orgasmic magic, I'm talking about what that means from a tantric perspective,
Mhm.
and how we can use orgasm from an energetic, high vibrational perspective to create within our lives.
Beautiful. So when you say create within our lives, can I say also, would that be would manifest be another word?
Yes.
Because in witchcraft, we can use orgasm to raise our vibration, as in our spell crafting, to help with manifesting. Love it. Mm-hmm.
Absolutely. Yeah. And there is a lot of crossovers with witchcraft and the use of orgasm and, occult understanding, which
Mm-hmm.
perhaps have even come from some of the tantric understandings and have crossed over. Don't quote me on that though.
Well, very possible. I could see that. Yeah, who knows?
Yeah, yeah. So for me, when I think about orgasm this way, what's really important to me is the energy of the orgasm that we're moving towards and working towards. And sometimes we can find ourselves in a state where orgasm is not flowing really easily. We might be anorgasmic, not orgasming at all. And there are many women who have never experienced an orgasm. And it's my absolute my certainty that orgasm is available for everyone, and even people who have suffered a spinal cord injury and don't have sensation in their genitals can still orgasm, and they orgasm through sensation to other areas of their body, such as nipples or through touch on the skin. So I just want to
Beautiful.
reassure people before we even go any further, that if orgasm is not something that comes easily for you, it can be developed.
I agree, absolutely agree. And I have to say, when I was younger, I had my first orgasm around the age of 25. And I remember being really worried, like, why, why are my girlfriends having orgasms and I'm not? And it was, I think it had a lot to do with not being with the right partner, because and also, I would, of course, explore with myself. But oh man, when I had my first, what I considered to be a real orgasm, I think I nearly screamed the house down. But that's another topic. But let's go on. Let's go on with you.
I love that. You just, exemplified my point so beautifully. Thank you. We can certainly be worried because it's strange
Yeah.
and beautiful, but we just don't have a good education around it. Yeah.
That's the thing, the lack of education. I mean, I'm 65, so I don't know about you, but for me it was such a taboo subject. And not so much because it was dirty, it was just wasn't talked about. Back in those days, and we weren't really educated. We went to one little meeting when I was in middle school with mum, and we watched a video, and that was it. And it was like, Jesus, it's
Yeah.
okay. So,
Yeah.
yeah.
I'd like to say it's gotten better, but perhaps not as much better as we
Hmm.
would like.
Hmm.
Yeah, but it is changing. Yeah.
Wouldn't it be beautiful if it was brought into school? Because so many teenagers are sexually active.
Yeah.
And because I'm just going to share a bit here. I was sexually active as a teenager, and I didn't know what the big deal was.
Yeah.
Honestly, we just did it because we could do it, and it was like, what's so good about this?
Yeah.
We we weren't educated, and I think that's such an important thing.
Yeah.
Telling my
Yeah.
secrets now.
But you're highlighting something that's really important too, that so much of the dialogue that we see around us about sex is
Mm.
giving women the idea that men's pleasure is more important. And, particularly for those people who are in a heterosexual relationship, that the man's pleasure is more important than the woman's. And we
Yes.
also get primed through what we see in adult media, what we read in books, what we are watching in television and in movies. And quite often there's this big, beautiful, kind of fairy tale like romance. And
Mm.
then there's a breakup and there's this magic sex, and everyone's coming at the same time within 2 minutes because
Yeah.
that's how the screen needs it to look.
I have brought this topic up so many times, and I've said to my daughter, I like, sex takes a few seconds or a couple of minutes on TV, and I've often thought, is this training our young ones about what sex is like? So I'm really grateful you brought that up because I've thought that many, many times.
Yeah. Yeah.
Powerful topic to talk about.
Yeah, there is a lot of evidence that these things form what we call in the sexology sphere a sexual script. And so,
Mm.
like we have an idea of I'm going out for dinner, we know how going to a restaurant works. We walk in, we're seated, we're given a menu, they come back and get our drinks, then they'll bring our drinks, they'll come back and get our food order, they get our food, they might come and check on us, see how it's going, table gets cleared, we pay our bill. So we know how it goes. And so we have the same kind of idea for sex, and we call that a sexual script. So if our sexual script is based on what we've seen on television and in movies because we haven't had any other education, then that is what we're going to think sex is and how it works. And if it's more based on adult media and the stats based on 6,000, a study that was done on 6,000 secondary students in Australia, the stats on young people who've watched adult media is by the age of 12 and a half, the majority of young people have seen some adult media. And
Mm-hmm.
by the age of 15 and a few months, they've engaged in vaginal and even anal sex. And so I think there's a lot of that comes from adult media that they think is normal, and there's a whole range of behaviors that become problematic
Yep.
when that's what we perceive normal to be. And that includes consent, it includes safety, and then in relation to our topic, it does include female pleasure and orgasm. And so there's lots of literature around what they call the orgasm gap, where in heterosexual relationships, it's women orgasm about 1/3 less compared to women and women, men and men.
Very interesting. And yeah, I can see that. Yeah, fantastic. This is really important. I hope a lot of people listen to it. Got to keep sharing it.
It is really important. So if I try and kind of connect that to where this chat is ultimately intended to end up, I need to kind of link the idea that we perhaps don't have a good education about sex,
Mm-hmm.
and then link that to what orgasm can be and
Yes.
how to come into an orgasmic state and to build an orgasmic capacity that is not about striving.
Yes.
And that's really key, particularly when we are looking at this from a tantric intent, from a mindful perspective, from a state of sex being about connection, whether that sex is with ourselves or with another person. And I'll also define sex here as not only being penis and vagina intercourse, much,
Yes.
much, much broader than that. And if that is our definition, then there's a whole group of people who will remain virgins for life, even though they're highly sexually active.
Yeah.
So,
Wow. Yeah, absolutely. And that, if we have time, that makeup sex, I experienced that many times in one of my relationships, and it was so toxic, really toxic. I believe it created a pattern with my ex
yes, yeah. And so,
to create a bad situation to then make up. Yeah. And I was aware of it.
yeah.
They're not together anymore for many reasons, but that was one of them. It was total control.
Yeah, it's really important to bring that up, and your awareness just shows so much mindfulness to what you're experiencing at the time without perhaps having a broader lens to fully be able to understand why it was like that. And this
Mm,
is a pattern that we can often see in relationships where one or both parties have an avoidant or an anxious attachment style. So the fight, the tension creates an anxiety that the relationship is not okay, and the
mhm,
sex creates a confirmation that the relationship is okay.
mhm,
And 50 Shades of Grey, that series actually portrays that and depicts that quite well, and also names it not from attachment styles but from a, Christian needs that for him to feel like the relationship is okay. And then we get to the point where Anna wants to give that to him so that the relationship is validated. Yeah. And so it's this cycle of tension, and then no, everything's okay. Tension, and then we use sex to reinforce, and everything is okay. And that sex can be powerful and so
yes,
incredibly hot because it's so emotionally charged.
absolutely. Oh my gosh. Yeah, it's just going round in my mind now with this conversation. And I believe it happens a lot. And oof, yeah,
A lot.
yeah.
Yeah, it really
That's
does
big.
a lot.
Reliving that in this moment, it's like, and the sex was fucking hot. It was amazing. But those feelings of that pure connection in that moment only lasted a couple of days, and then I
Yeah.
was back to the.
Yeah.
It was interesting, if I can share, because I always remember saying to my partner at that time, we're no longer together, I'd sit down and say, because I got bored, and there were many other reasons, I mean, that I left. That's not just why I left. It was a whole lot of stuff, and it took me a long time. And I remember I would sit with him, and we'd have a drink, and I'd say, why don't we do a tantric workshop? Why don't we go and learn more to take our sex life, us, to a new level? And he looked at me, and I went, oh my God, he doesn't know what this is. And I said to him, do you know what Tantra is? And he said, no. So I explained a bit to him, and he said, I don't have a problem with sex. You can go and do it if you like. I thought, oh, you fucking idiot. But anyway, so I'll stop now and let you move forward.
Yeah, I really want to honor that though, Julie, because that's a really big statement that suggests that he was threatened by the idea of that, and that tantric sex was being presented because the sex that you were experiencing wasn't enough. And, to address, you're saying that you did sometimes get bored. This can be quite a common experience for women, particularly, that women can need a little bit more variety, and that doesn't necessarily match the stereotype that we have of,
Mhm.
men being the ones that always want it and women playing hard to get, but that is what plays out.
Mm.
And when when we understand Tantra for the intention of connection and the emotional heart to heart, soul to soul intimacy that is part of that, Tantra can, on the outset, perhaps appear threatening to many people because we don't know how to be intimate outside of sex. And we think that sex is intimate. And in a way it is. But when you slow that down and when you make that more meaningful and more mindful, and my personal definition of tantric sex is that if you're bringing intention to your sex, again, whether with yourself or with another or others, then that is inherently and essentially tantric sex, just bringing more intention to it. And so it's just a completely different way of thinking about it and requires a real paradigm shift.
Yes, yes. And we're going to talk about this, so I don't want to jump ahead, but bringing ritual into it and time and pleasure, really experiencing the pleasure, like every morsel of it. That excites.
Yeah. Your face when you described that and the way that you lit up and the way that your hands moved and the smile that you had, that showed so much more than even your words.
Yeah, and I can feel it. It's like that's what having sex or being connected, making love, however you want to term it. It's like, I'm feeling it in my bones right now.
Yeah.
Beautiful.
Yeah, it really
Thank you for witnessing that.
Yeah, my privilege. It was a beautiful thing to witness, truly. Yeah, just to see you come alive in that moment, thinking and feeling. You were clearly feeling it, embodying it.
Yes, and I'm very much like that kinesthetic and feeling, and I'm fucking missing it, to be honest with you. Yeah. So
can appreciate that. Yes. So perhaps you can take some of this for yourself.
Don't worry, I will be, honey.
In the interim. Yeah. So I feel like where we're at in this conversation is how, we can have this big perspective of what sex is and how we've been trained to view it, what we've been taught it is, and what we inherently, perhaps even through silence, understand it not to be. What we don't hear also teaches us alongside what we do hear. And so one of the things that we can hear about orgasm and sex in general is when we're looking at the men's pleasure and talking about a heterosexual relationship here, when we're talking about the man's pleasure being more important, then it may be that women aren't orgasming because penis and vagina sex is understood to be the main event. And we have this idea that we have foreplay, which suggests that comes first. And then there's this ultimate thing that comes after. And so if we just slow it down. And so what we want to do is bring more sensuality to this and more connection.
Yes, I'm all about sensuality, and that hit me up too. It's like yes.
And so some of the ways that you can bring sensuality in is thinking about the environment around you, whether it's a little bit cliche, but candles and music. For some people, the sensual information actually is part of the way that they turn on and that their arousal builds, and not everybody needs that.
Yeah. Well, wouldn't say that I always need it. I just love it. I love setting the scene and having all that magic and even, being in nature. Oh.
Yes. Yep. And then bringing it back to the bedroom, you can also have things like really soft scarves. You can have heavy strings of pearls. And so these things can be draped across the skin. And, a scarf, I'm just touching my arm and no one will get to see it likely.
That's okay.
I'm assuming you don't use the video, but you imagine that you've got a scarf and then slowly, 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 slowly pull that scarf. Like it's just tickling and tantalizing. So the whole time I've been talking, my hand has moved a hand's distance to give you an idea. It's really slow. So what I'd
Yeah.
love to say is go slower than you think you need to.
Great
Yeah.
tip. Can I share something before we go on? And this is something not so much here because I'm very exposed, but when I lived on our big property, and I have done it in my home, but I call it a goddess bath.
Mm-hmm.
And what I would do is fill up a tub and put it outside because we were completely surrounded in nature,
Yep.
and stand in it naked, put the oils in, and have a soft face cloth and just gently move over my body with the face cloth in the water.
Yep.
And it's such a beautiful, I wouldn't even say exercise, just a beautiful, pleasurable ritual
Yep.
to do. And you reminded me of that when you were saying that, because it's something that I recommend for ritual with my witches.
Yes, yeah, absolutely. It just brings so much presence to the skin and so much awareness. And we know that bring it creates a sense of the nerves kind of being alive and sensitizing them.
Yes.
Yeah. Yeah.
Yes.
And so this can be part of what we're working towards, even though we're talking there about that being ritual, when we're moving towards the idea of orgasmic magic and building our orgasmic potential. These are pieces that help us to be in a state where orgasm can flow, remembering that orgasm is not a thing that we strive for, but it's a thing that we soften into and open up to. And so traditionally, our orgasm might be clenching and tightening, clenching and tightening, clenching and tightening, and then eventually we go over the top. And if we can shift that, and as we start to notice that we're clenching, if we slow our breath down, soften the body, slow the breath down, soften the body, slow the breath down, soften the body, and let the orgasm build differently. And so
Mm-hmm.
it's not about getting this over the top peak experience that is over within 15 seconds. It becomes something that can spread throughout the body. And that's really a tantric orgasm, and can even become a full body orgasm depending on, how far that spreads. I find for me that usually starts in my fingertips, almost feeling a little bit like pins and needles. And then it will spread throughout my body from my fingertips rather than from my genitals.
Amazing. Thank you for sharing that. That's incredible too. And I'm thinking like it may take some practice to get, to that point, because we have to retrain
That's right.
our brain, our bodies, and
Yep.
so have lots
Yep.
of practice every.
Yep. And if we're used to sex being quick, or sex not being about us, or us not knowing what we really like, or knowing what we like and not feeling like we can communicate that with our partner, then it makes it so much harder to actually have the pieces in place for orgasm to build, whether it's an over the top or a tantric orgasm. I like to think of this, and this also works for the concept of libido, as like sex doesn't start when sex starts. It's like
Mm-hmm.
dinner. Dinner doesn't start as soon as we sit down to eat dinner. There's preparation that came before that. We needed the plates, the bowls, the cutlery, the cooking equipment. We needed the ingredients. We needed to know what we were going to make with our ingredients and how we were going to do it. Someone had to go to the shops at some point. So there's all these things that come before that means we can have this experience, and we need to think about that build up, and whether the build up is a slow, gentle tease, whether the build up is, really mindful connection, whether it's sensuality, whether someone likes it a little bit more kinky, or just kind of a little bit kind of stereotypical straight into genitals, tits, pussy, ass, cock, that kind of
Yeah,
thing. To I don't mean to make it sound crass, but just to
I
illustrate
get
the
it.
point.
Yeah, absolutely. It's
Yeah.
way more.
Yeah, so there's no one way that we can have this experience, but especially if you're a person that needs time,
Mm,
give your body time, allow your body to have time. And so, even if you're working towards the idea of using orgasm for manifestation, it first needs to be an understanding of, well, what are the things that I need that help me to be able to open myself towards orgasm and to soften into it so that it's not a frustrating, striving experience, but it's a completely different embodiment. And also remembering that if you're a female body person with a cycle, or if your partner is a female body person with that cycles, that there can be particular points in that person's cycle where it's easier to orgasm and
mm.
harder to orgasm. And if you're not cycle tracking, could cycle track, and you might be able to work that out if your play is often enough.
That's a really good tip as well. And I think more and more women today are um tracking their cycles and also working with the phases of the moon, which is very,
Yeah.
very powerful. And there's such an intimate connection with us and the moon, so and our cycles. So yeah, that's a really good thing to tap in.
Yeah, absolutely. There's a lot of power in the knowledge of that.
Mm, mm,
Yeah, a lot of power. I learned something very surprising when I cycle tracked. To share a little bit about me, I learned that the day I finish bleeding is the day that I'm most likely to cry. Whereas we think of PMS and we think of crying. For me, it's at the end of my cycle that I'm most likely to cry. And once I knew that, I stopped thinking, oh, what's wrong? And just went, oh, hormones.
of course. Yes, 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 yes. There's so much more awareness now. I never, I just wasn't, I hated my cycle. I hated it. I was in so much pain. There was probably
Mm,
about 5 days out of every cycle that I felt like I was me and
yeah,
not. And there just wasn't the education. There wasn't even, talking to doctors. I remember being told once, oh, you have pre and post, menstrual syndrome. And or tension. I thought, oh, great. So for me, coming into menopause, I was so excited. I felt like,
yeah,
it was incredibly liberating for me because I didn't have to suffer
yeah,
anymore,
yeah.
which again is another topic, but I just thought I'd share that with what you brought in.
Yeah, and we can add to that in this context because I know and people who have used orgasm to relieve PMS and
Mm,
all cycle related tension. So they might just use it when PMS is active, or they might use it try to work towards an orgasm daily for a cycle to see what difference it makes in the next cycle. And they've had some pretty extraordinary results. So I mean, that's definitely orgasmic magic.
that is orgasmic magic. That's
Yeah.
fantastic.
Even
Yeah.
though we're not, manifesting a new house or our dream partner, it's still very much using the energy of orgasm. And orgasm it's a really great pain reliever, really
Yes.
great pain reliever. So there has been even studies done on the therapeutic benefit of orgasm for people with chronic pain.
Ah, I love that. I love that. And also, if anybody does want to use orgasms for magic, it's really important. I mean, the first place we have to start is with ourselves and our inner healing, because the magic isn't going to be as potent. And I'm speaking of spell work, so manifestation, that we need to start with ourselves and create that magic and that power within ourselves first so that we can then go on to more bigger magic, if you want to call it, if you want to do some bodacious manifesting of whatever it might be, a house,
Yeah,
a lover, a partner, anything, money.
yeah,
Yeah.
for sure. Yeah, and we can apply that idea also to that manifesting and the work on ourselves as being how we hold a high vibration.
Mm.
And from my work with pleasure, that's about, what are the things that I can do that feel really great to me. If we think about self-care as being the things I do for my self-sustaining and self-pleasure or pleasure-related things being things that I do simply to fuel me, to feel good, to add to my life, not because I need to exist at a bare minimum. And then we can also look at this idea from a nervous system capacity perspective. And so by having this kind of baseline level of activity and intention where we're looking after ourselves and doing that inner work and holding that deeper perspective, we're also supporting our nervous system to be able to open to what it is that we're calling in. Because if the nervous system is not on board, even if we get it, we might find a way to release that just as quickly because the nervous system can kick in and take over in a different way.
I love that. Yeah. And as you were saying that too, I was thinking for me, of course, the power of scent and using scent in our orgasmic magic is going to potentize that as well, because it has that direct link to the brain and works on our nervous system. So, and of course, scent is pure pleasure for me. Like, I'm talking natural scents, of course, natural perfumery. And it's just, I've often said I'm having a perfume-gasm because, some of them for me are just so orgasmic. And so when you combine, it is just, and then you smell that scent and it takes you to that moment and it's like, very luscious, very pleasurable.
That's the part I was thinking of too, where you described at the end, when you smell that scent, it takes you there. And so we've got a shortcut to that state where the body remembers. And then we know from neuroscience that we can remember something and the body acts as if it's happening now. So we can imagine ourselves in that place and we will get all the neurotransmitters, the pleasure hormones, all of that is associated with the thing that we're remembering as if it was actually happening now. And so that scent is a potent way to just trigger an easy connection with what it is we're wanting to remember and connect with.
Yes. And any more on the orgasmic magic aspect?
I think if we really go into the nitty-gritty of this, how do we work toward the orgasm and physically use it for the intent of calling something in, for manifesting? And for me, this is simply intention and vibration. The way that I think about it, and it's probably a little bit different to the way that you would work it with spells and witchcraft, but essentially using the energy, thinking of orgasm as being a peak experience, but also an energetic experience. So when tantric philosophy thinks about sex as being a transcendental experience, so that means we can literally be out of our body. We can have energetic orgasms, and it's really important that our energy orgasms actually aren't continually going into the astral field, but are staying in the etheric field. So it's the echo of the body rather than we're shifting spiritual planes, right? And so that keeps us kind of grounded in our 3D reality, not depleting our adrenals and still able to manifest into a spiritual plane. And so we're holding the energy of the thing that we want within the energy of our peak experience and our orgasmic experience. So again, it's kind of like not striving. We're not bringing a desperation to it. We're not bringing the frustration of, I want this. It's not a bargaining space.
Yeah. Exactly.
Spirit, I'm orgasming. You have to give me this.
No. Yeah.
No, it's more an alignment. And my clairvoyance actually physically sees, it doesn't physically see, Claire sees. I see the manifesting, the thing that we're wanting to manifest is actually surrounded by, cocooned by, held by, encased by the energy of the orgasm and that transcendental experience. And so our peak over the top orgasm doesn't so much give us that full transcendental experience. And that's why this build up that is generally a little bit slower, a little bit mindful. You can slow the breath down, focus on sensation, let things really build. And it can be slow at first, but really not having this energy of striving. And then within that, you're holding the thing that you're wanting to bring to life.
That is beautiful. Thank you. I love that. And of course, I could see it as you were describing it, like, because I'm very visual and clear.
Yep.
It's yeah, I was actually getting a bit like dreamy with all of that because I just could feel it, see it. I have a question that
Yep.
came to me. I'm telling all my secrets here.
I do that to people, be warned.
I love it though.
Without me even asking.
Yeah, well, I have no shame, it's fine. I'm unapologetic. So I wake up sometimes I'm in the middle of an orgasm. And so what is that? And it's not necessarily that I'm dreaming anything. It's like my body must be so fully relaxed, or have I come out of my body? And then when I come back into it, I kind of lose it. Is there a way to hold on to that? Because it's such a fucking good thing.
Yeah, that's a really interesting question.
There's nothing that like, I don't know, it just happens.
Yeah, it sounds like if you're not aware that you're dreaming, and you could be dreaming and not have conscious recollection of the fact that you're dreaming, and then the body could be orgasming from something that's happening in the dream. And it could be just a physical, I'd say just, never just, let's not minimize it.
Yeah, I get you. Yeah.
It could be the body having a physiological reaction. And some people are really great at orgasming, at times when, it doesn't appear that there's any stimulation, but something could be happening. And it could be out of body. I guess, Julie, I would want to know a little bit more to be able to understand a little bit more.
Yeah. So, I definitely not having intimacy or sex in my dreams. I just get this feeling, whether I'm semi-awake or what. And sometimes I think, gee, I must be really relaxed. And I just get this feeling like, an orgasm starts coming on, and it feels so damn good. But
Yeah.
then when I become conscious, I lose it, as
Yeah.
in when I fully wake.
Yeah. Yeah, because the
And
conscious mind is wanting to hold on to it.
yeah.
Yeah. My instinct is that it sounds like a bodily experience from being in a deep state of relaxation and
Mm,
openness. But I
mm.
would be curious, because you've brought up am I actually in an alternative dimension kind of idea? I'd be curious if you sort of noted, rather than waking and thinking about trying to hold onto the orgasm, just feeling into kind of where it starts or how it starts. But it sounds certainly like you're having a bodily experience,
Mm, mm. I
and
wonder if it's even in my waking moments that it just starts to happen. I'm not sure, but when it happens again, I don't know, try to be relaxed and not want it to keep going.
yeah, just thinking about it differently. We can just have these. I mean, a male equivalent is like having a wet dream. We can, as
Yes.
women, have these experiences where we can orgasm in our sleep, and perhaps also you're orgasming your sleep, and the orgasm is waking you, and that's why you're waking.
Yes. Okay, that makes sense as well. Yeah. I mean, how could you ignore such a feeling?
Why would you want to?
Why would you want to exactly? I'm sure there's other women out there that experience this.
Yeah, definitely. Yeah. It's a
Yeah,
thing. It just, sometimes it's, could be a few things you got to kind of sit into, or hang on, what's happening here, and,
yeah,
work it out, not jump to conclusions.
yeah, of course, of course. I hear
Yeah.
you. Okay, so do you want to keep going on the orgasmic magic, or should we have a wee break and then come back and do a second part of this conversation?
I'm feeling like Orgasmic Magic might be complete. How do you, at least for
Yeah.
now?
For now, we can come back on another podcast chat and talk more. So, what we're going to do is pause for a moment. And for our listeners, if you feel like to get a beverage, grab a toy. I don't know, you might be getting turned on by this. Just to pause for a moment, and then we will be back. Okay, here we are back again. And so get comfortable. And now we're going to go into more ritual practices. Is that correct, Emma?
Yep.
Okay, so I'm going to hand it over to you.
Okay.
I'm loving this conversation.
That's so good. That's good. Me too. I feel like also I don't know how many of your listeners would listen, perhaps in the car or with young people around. We probably need a 18 plus warning on both of these podcast episodes.
Yes, I will put that in the show notes, and thank you very much for pointing that out, especially with me and the language I use.
Yep. Just also the content.
Yes,
we were quite frank in our previous visit.
we were.
I do have a dog with me, so people just might be able to hear that dog for a few minutes, just so
That's
they know what
okay.
that is.
This is real and raw. We don't worry about things like that on this
It
podcast.
is. It is real and raw. Okay, so we touched on a little bit about ritual in our previous chat. And I guess if we set the scene first, what is ritual and why might we use that? And so ritual for me is it's something that we engage in with intention and purpose for to have an experience that is a little bit deeper. So things like the idea of a tea ceremony, for example, and in the context of what we're talking about here, and also we have other rituals. Like my family will make a pot of tea and sit down and share the pot of tea, and my children are primary school age, and this is a ritual that our family shares. So it's kind of like an intentional habit that we're doing to really add to our life and our experience. So in the context of manifesting and presence and the kind of rich witch philosophy, we might use ritual to add to our experience, to increase our vibration, to support our manifestation, to bring ourselves into alignment so that we can manifest more easily. And so ritual in this way has a place where it's creating deeper connection with ourselves. And that primarily is where my focus will be for what I share. And of course, depending on the questions that Julie asks, but that for me is the thing that feels most potent to share
Beautiful.
today.
I love it. Go right ahead. I love tea ceremonies too, by the way. I do. I do them in spellcrafting.
They're beautiful. And you have the most beautiful tea.
Oh, thanks to the Nimbin apothecary.
Yes, yes, many. So one of the most potent times that we can step into ritual is before we've gotten busy with our day. So before we've even gotten out of bed. And this can sometimes be a little bit of a missed opportunity where we can wake up really busy, or we're waking up tired, or we've got small children who are waking us up, or we've got a partner who is waking us up for sex. And if we can wake up and just spend a few minutes connecting with ourselves, we can change our whole day. And so a really easy way to do that is just bring a hand onto the heart, your other hand onto the belly, or both hands heart, both hands belly, or even one or both hands over your vulva or your yoni, depending on the word that you prefer to use. And you could have both hands there. It might be one hand over the yoni and one at the belly, one at the heart. There's a few different options. And I'm not saying options to confuse you, more to give you an idea of, just kind of go where it feels natural. And the yoni itself can be an amazing place of manifestation. You can really think of this as a powerhouse within the female body. And then you just want to slow down. So you might even, if you're not driving or you are somewhere that it's okay, you could try this now. So you can just place your hands on the body where it feels good or natural. If it's safe for you to do so, you can close the eyes and then simply notice your body, perhaps noticing the breath first. It's noticing where the breath is in the body, whether it's in the chest or in the belly, whether it's deep or slow, and then just noticing the connection between your hand and your body, feeling the connection, feeling the weight of your hand on your body, perhaps feeling any aliveness in the skin, and just going a little bit more deeply into sensation there and feeling what is present. And that might come through as sensing, might come through as a physical feeling, a knowing, an idea, something you hear, and just trusting the way that it comes through. And then just connecting with what is present for you, just noticing what is present. And then you can also ask yourself, if I could have any one thing right now, what would that be? And noticing what you notice, whether you feel, know, hear, see an image, sense something in some way. And we'll just take a full settling breath in and a full breath out. And then just start to soften the contact points between the hand and the body. And as you're ready, blink the eyes back open.
It's beautiful. I went very quiet then because I did that mini ritual. Can I share? I actually felt deep in the core. That's where I was, in the core of my body, not externally, just on my skin. I could feel it, especially in my yoni. And when I work with Lilith, because I work with Lilith and Venus probably on a daily basis, really, Lilith resides there for me, and I could just feel that gentle rumble of her. And when you said, what do you feel like, the first thing that came into my mind was sex.
Yeah, delicious. That makes total sense after our previous conversation as well. Yeah. Yes.
Oh, dear. I love
that. I love that. And I also really want to acknowledge that for you, that was, a really deep, natural experience that you could go into with ease, and that other people might not feel that to be so easy. And I want to reassure them that that's really normal. And I've done this type of practice with people where, we're focusing on what do you feel in your body, and they have no awareness of any sensation, not even the connection with the thing that they're sitting on. No awareness at all. And so if that's where you are in that type of ritual, then focus on the physical sensations that will actually be there, like where your hand meets your body, the feeling of it's first thing in bed and you're lying down, feel the bed underneath you. And the dog's not happy.
Hang on, puppy.
I think she just wants to be with the kids. And like any clothing, that's another one that you can feel. And then from there, once you're comfortable with that, you will notice that when you go into a ritual like that, it will be easier for you to notice whatever is there to notice.
And that is so important to share. It's honoring where you are at this time, and don't feel that, I know when I was younger, I would have gone, what's the matter with me? I can't do this, and feel frustrated. It's honor where you are and allow yourself grow and flow with it. And that journey in itself is very, very empowering.
Yeah, absolutely. So exciting.
Yes, it is exciting because that's when we're coming into our being, as a woman, and that self-respect and self-love and self-honoring. And it will also grow our confidence.
It will. It will, absolutely. And it's also, allows a deeper embodiment. And when, if we go back to the conversation we were having before this one, the more that we can feel in our body, the more sensation we're going to experience through sexual interactions.
Mm,
And also, it's a deeper emotional understanding that means things that we might go to, like overeating or other kind of things that we do to mask our emotions, we don't
mm.
need those as much once we have more sensory awareness.
Beautiful. I
Mhm.
love that too. That's very powerful. Yeah.
Many benefits. Just going to take the ream of paper off the dog.
See, we have a guest that stepped in as well. Beautiful puppy, Alsatian.
She is, and she is very much a puppy, very playful, and she does have some toys in here. She has just settled back down again.
Oh,
I
bless her.
disturbed her when we had our break between chats.
Yes.
Yes, good girl.
Mm,
Yes, so rituals like that, when we start our day with that, we're actually starting our day with a little bit of slowness and a little bit of connection, and we're really setting the scene for what we can give to ourselves through the rest of the day, especially if we're connection poor and we're time poor. So we can get some pleasure hormone benefits from a ritual like that, where there's physical contact with ourselves. So ideas like a 20-second hug, we need 20 seconds of
mm.
physical contact for us to get the oxytocin benefits and therefore the nervous system benefits. So when you're connecting with yourself, and you might just do 30 seconds, you might do 2 minutes, you might do 5 minutes, you're getting all of those benefits, and also an awareness of, it's like taking stock. Where am I at this morning? Am
Beautiful.
I feeling energetic? And so the ritual is not just about connecting to you. It's not just, supporting you with your manifesting, but it's also slowing things down and giving you information about yourself.
I love that because I'm not a wake up, jump out of the bed person. And I've got a new kitty and she's a little heifer lump and she jumps straight on me in the morning. It's like, far out. And I'm just not one that will just wake up and get up. So I like to lie there and fully wake up.
Yeah,
have never been a morning person. So and as you've been sharing that, I find that actually naturally do that, but I'm going to be really conscious, like create an actual ritual. That's going to be a part of my morning ritual, and again I'm going to add perfume to it because
of
that's one of the
course.
things I love to do in the morning.
Yes.
Mm,
Yes, that sounds beautiful. Really beautiful.
love it.
I would love to add too, for people, that ritual can be something that also marks transition points in our day. So I think what's really important is to make it doable. We live in a world that is really busy.
Mm.
Many of us are overscheduled. Our nervous systems have taken a beating because, we're constantly connected and all the reasons. And so allowing our rituals to actually not be another thing on our to-do list, but to be
Yes,
really doable. And so if that means when you get in the car, you pause and take 5 deep breaths. And when you get out of the car, pause and take 5 deep breaths. Then that's what ritual means. Like, it doesn't have to be half an hour long with candles and ceremonial
absolutely.
cacao. It doesn't need lots of prep time. It's really just an inward turning moment that you do a little bit habitually, that you can make work for you. And so partner connection rituals, for example, and you can do this with other family members as well, and yourself when you get home, you can take a moment to just be present with your partner. So my husband and I like to come into each other's space, and instead of just kissing, like, we can kind of kiss on the lips a little bit perfunctionally, and we instead press our foreheads together. Julie's probably seen an image of that on social media. And then we synchronize our breath and we just breathe
Yes, I have. I
together.
love
Yeah. So we stay there for a minute, sometimes two, sometimes even three. Other good connection rituals for partners are if you've got kids, you know, the kids might go to bed and then you might spend 5 minutes, maybe 10 minutes just sitting down with each other and asking about each other's day. What was the highlight? Was there something that was tricky? You can also have that kind of idea at your dinner table. This is a great forum if you've got a family to have a conversation about the concept of the rose and the thorn and, you know, your highlight from the day and the thing that was tricky. And so we
it.
also use that at our dinner table for supporting people to talk about things that are tricky in their life, and then, you know, they might share their thing, and then we are clear in asking whether they just want to share and be witnessed or whether they would like community problem solving.
Yeah, I love
Right.
it. It's
And
powerful.
so that's a ritual at the dinner table. And other rituals that you can connect with yourself can be even the way that you dress. Like so
Mhm.
often we dress in ways that are really functional, but what if we consciously choose what we're going to wear based on how we want to feel today? Do we
I
want to feel,
love that. I
you know, do
love
we
that,
want
Emma.
to feel powerful? Do we want to feel feminine? Do we want to feel fit and sporty? Do we want to feel sexy? Like, what do
Mm.
we wear to help us embody that? And then dressing that. So it's really just kind of slowing things down, making things a little bit more intentional. And when we bring that intention to it, the thing that we're already doing fills us instead of just being a thing that we're doing.
I love that. I love that. And yeah, I know for me too, especially, I mean, again, another topic, but I dress for me, even when I've been with partners, and I've had so many friends that dress for their partner. And I've often said to them, dress for you.
Yeah.
That's what it's about.
Yeah, you want to feel good. And ultimately, you want to either forget about your clothes completely or feel so shit hot, they're like adding to
Yeah,
your experience.
yeah,
Yeah,
absolutely. Absolutely.
yeah.
So, wow, this has been amazing, and I'm really grateful. And before we sign off, because we have been going for a while, and I mean, I think we could talk a lot longer.
I
Emma,
think so too.
are there any last words that you would like to offer?
So I was just thinking about the, you know, if we've got things like a yoni egg, you can create a full ritual around, you know, not just inserting your yoni egg, but actually connecting with yourself, connecting with the egg, connecting with the energy of that. So that's another way that you can bring ritual in. The other thing that I feel to add, which is probably more potent for our previous conversation, is to not underestimate the power of lubrication
Mm, mm,
and
mm.
to also not expect that both female bodies and male bodies make lubrication, and we tend to just think that it's only female bodies, but that is not necessarily a sign of arousal. It may be present and it may not be present, and we can still be aroused. And so, having some clean lubrication is a good idea. So, liquid coconut oil is excellent. There
Yes.
are things that oil does not mix with. Latex is one of them. So if you're a player that has latex safety devices, then you don't want to mix your oil with that. So there's a couple of really clean lubes. Drip make great lubes, and they're a small, queer-founded, ethical company,
Yeah.
DRIP. And then there's one that's WB, yes, from memory. If it's relevant, I can give Julie the links to those.
Yes.
And so, you know, adding in something like that, if you're having a ritual or working on your orgasmic capacity, you know, not forgetting that sometimes slipperiness can just add a whole other dimension. And if we're engaging in ritual and self-pleasure, then still bring in that principle, the dog with its toy, still bring in the principle of slowing things down. So you can have a ritual where, for example, you have your hand on your yoni and you might just sit there and connect for a few minutes. And then you might start to just notice the folds of your labia and just notice. So kind of touching to notice, not touching for outcome,
Yes.
touching to notice. Yeah. And so just, create whatever feels natural and good for you in your rituals, just bringing that intention and presence.
Oh, beautiful. What a beautiful way to finish. Thank you. Thank you. Thank you.
Thank you.
Oh, Emma,
Thank you.
this has been beautiful and powerful, and I've really felt it. Like I needed to hear this as well.
Yeah.
Um, and of course, I will put Emma's contact details, etc., into the show notes. And so grateful, Emma, and I'm so loving actually talking to you. It's been too long since we've had the physical conversation. Lots of love to you and your gorgeous family, and we will finish up now. And yeah, this has just been gorgeous. So thank you so much. Beautiful. I've loved it.
Thank you. Me too. It's been wonderful to chat with you.
Oh, thank you. And bye for now, Rich Witch audience. Wonderful to have you here with us. Thank you for joining us on the enchanting journey through the realms of magic, mystique, and self-discovery. I hope you enjoyed our time together on the Rich Witch podcast, where we delve into the depths of witchcraft, astrology, and the unapologetic rise of women. Please subscribe, rate, and leave a review. And as we wrap up, I encourage you to carry the wisdom and magic we've shared into your own life. Embrace the power within you and revel in the beauty of your own unique journey. Stay tuned for more magic, and in the meantime, stay curious and know your magic is a gift to the world. Blessed be, beautiful ones, and remember, the magic is always within you. This is Julie Nelson, signing off.